So, what the Holy Spirit was speaking to me was just about, and I mentioned this yesterday, was mistaken identity. And he was showing me in my own life what that mistaken identity looked like. And so I'm going to share a little bit of that with you, and it's going to lead into the prophetic, I promise. So when I was 17, and I was a senior in high school, I got pregnant, and my parents were very scary and very controlling, so I did not want to have to tell them, so I had an abortion. And that's important for what's next. So fast forward, I'm a sophomore in college, and I get pregnant again because I'm looking for love in all the wrong places instead of with Daddy. And this time, because I had known before what it was like, and I was a little bit farther in my walk with him, I realized that that was not the path I wanted to take this time. And so I very adamantly told my parents that I was going to keep the child. And at that time, I was in college. I'm an only child. My parents were paying for me to go to college. I was very blessed in that area. And being concerned about what other people thought, they decided that that was not a good idea. And I fought them on it. For several weeks, I fought them on this. And it got to the point where there was a line drawn in the sand that you either have the abortion or you are no longer a part of our family. And so I wasn't even welcomed back in my own home while I was still pregnant. So I decided that there was nothing else that I could do because financially I was not able to support myself. I had put myself on WIC. I had even looked to see if there was any shelters that I could move into, and it just wasn't a possibility at the time. And I remember I had to stay at my aunt's house the night before she was going to drive me to have the abortion because, of course, I couldn't have anything to do with my parents. And I remember laying in bed that night, and it was not in my heart to do this. It was not what I wanted. And so I was crying out to the Lord, and the Lord, it's still hard, and I've talked about this several times, but the Lord let me hear my daughter's voice. And it was so amazingly powerful. And I remember her just saying, "Mommy, please don't do this." And she was pleading with me, "Mommy, please don't do this." And I just remember saying, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And I wish I could say that that changed it, but it didn't. The next day I went and I had an abortion, and then I was welcomed back home, and everything was fine, and it was never talked about again. And so for me, the Lord was showing me, when Greg was talking this morning, about mistaken identity, and that a lot of times there's something that behavior-wise we have done in our lives that we feel like separates us from him. It's too big, it's too awful, you know. For me, it manifested a lot in the lies of, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy to be loved. I'm not worthy to be known. Nobody wants to know me. Because all I can see is the voice in my head that kept saying, what kind of a mother would do that to her child? Now, I'm blessed with 4 beautiful children here on earth, and all of my children know about their 2 siblings that are in heaven. And we've always been very open about that with them, and that's why I asked you to tape this for my daughter. But that lie was a stronghold because it was something that was keeping me from receiving from God. And I give prophetic words to a lot of people. And it's my joy to do that. It's something that God gave me that brings me happiness. But when people give me prophetic words, or for me to get a prophetic word for myself, there was a clog.
Yeah.
Because I was still not seeing myself as worthy of receiving. And even when I would hear what he would say, I wouldn't believe it because I was still believing that lie. And so the Lord was just showing me today, when Greg was talking, that the verse, and I don't know which one, but it talked about how he has removed our sin from us. And to me, I always view that as the actions that I did. Like he removed all my bad actions that I did. He removed all my, I don't have to live like that anymore. And the Lord was like, wait a minute, Julie, what is sin? Well, sin is unbelief. And he said it wasn't about what you did. It was never about your action. It was about me coming to take away that unbelief that action manifested in you, because all you can see was what you did. I never saw that.
Word of God.
All I saw was that you weren't believing the truth about who you really were. And I don't know if you guys know the Mirror Bible, but I love it. And he showed me, and it's going to sound different than if you have a Bible, but in James 1, verse 21, the Mirror Bible, it says, get rid of any remaining residue of evil. And evil is, laborious toil. That polluted your life before. Welcome with sensitive embrace the word that powerfully conceives salvation in your soul. Give the word your undivided attention, and that means your intent listening. And Jesus is just calling us to listen to what he has to say about us. Do not underestimate yourself. How many of us underestimate that power that we have in us? Underestimate how amazing we are. How amazing the gifts are that we hold, and how many people around us need to see those gifts manifesting daily.
Yes.
Make the calculation. There can only be one logical conclusion. Your authentic origin is mirrored in the Word, and we know that the Word is Jesus. You are God's poem. Let his voice make poetry in your life. The difference between a mere spectator and a participator is that both of them hear the same voice and perceive in its message the face of their own Genesis, reflected as in a mirror. They realize that they are looking at themselves, but for one, it seems just too good to be true, and he departs back to his old way of seeing himself, and he forgets what manner of a person he is, never giving another thought to the one he saw there in the mirror. And that was me. It seemed too good to be true. Truly, that can't be for me. What kind of a mother would do that? Truly not for me. I am not worthy to be known. The other one is mesmerized by what he sees. He is captivated by the effect of a law, and we learned what the law was from Greg. It wasn't the law of Moses. It was the image and the likeness of God that Christ revealed, the law of perfect liberty, that frees man from the obligation to the old written code that restricted him to his own efforts and willpower. No distraction or contradiction can dim the impact of what he sees in that mirror concerning the law of perfect liberty, and now frees him to get on with the act of living the life of his original design. That's what I have. So, what he was showing to me is that God, and Greg said this, God comes to write on your heart the beauty he beholds of you. And he does that speaking to you, he does that in his word, but he also does that with the prophetic. And tomorrow we're going to talk a little bit about the prophetic and how it's not just for some. There's prophecy, and then there's the prophetic.
Right.
Yeah. But I just feel like The prophetic is so needed in grace.
Yes.
It's so needed for the encouragement. Too many people have been beaten down by what the law looks like with the prophetic.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like some of you needed to be encouraged that when you're given a word, that you can receive that that's God's view and opinion of you, that He loves you, that He's here to encourage you, that you don't need to be afraid. And I just feel like He's saying, you know, this is a new day, a new season for a lot of us, that there have been a lot of chains of rejection, a lot of chains of unbelief, of lies because of things that we've done in the past, a lot of which many people have hidden because they were ashamed, or there was shame on that. And He says you can bring that into the light because that's part of your testimony that's going to help heal other people.
Yeah.
And that you don't need to be afraid of what other people are going to think about you. We are free from others' opinions because like Greg was saying, they can't steal away our life. If nothing else, we share it and they're freed from their own condemnation.
Yeah.
So that's what I have.
That's good.
Praise God.